like Clark, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual.
Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, considering that as of right now, we have no knowledge on what the next big tournament's going to be, whether it's FNCS, World Cup, whatever it is, basically, I thought that it'd be kind of a good idea to make a video on basically how to perform better in these cash cups, because like I said, right now these are kind of only the competitive style type tournaments you can play, and if you are good enough you can actually win a decent amount of money. But overall, this video is going to be catered towards if you're a top 1000 placement player, a top 300, a top 100, and if you guys are really that good, top 25, you can still use some of these tips in these videos. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to this video. If you are, make sure you slap that like button, comment what you want to see for a future video. You guys know I'm always reading your guys' comments. Hit a subscribe button, use creator code WraithFN in the item shop, and let's get right into today's video. So the first tip I'm going to be talking about today, and this is more of just a general tip, and it's basically figure out your playstyle, and when you're using that playstyle, make sure you're doing it intelligently. So basically what I kind of consider, there's kind of three classes of playstyle. There's one which is super passive, where basically you just try not to fight anyone at all, and you land somewhere super remote and you just try and survive and basically get as much placement points as you can and maybe a couple kills endgame. The second one is kind of semi-passive, semi-aggressive, where if you see a good fight to take, or you kind of land somewhere where possible 1 to 2 people land, or you just kind of W key a little bit more, and then you play passive as well. That's kind of a semi-aggressive, semi-passive play style. And then the third is kind of just a straight-on aggressive play style where you W key almost everyone you see. You still go for placement, but most of the time whenever you see someone, you are W keying. A great example would be Benji Fishy plays kind of a semi-aggressive, semi-passive. Unknown Army plays kind of a super aggressive. And honestly, some pros such as Zextro plays a little bit more passive in my opinion, considering how good he is at taking fights, etc. But there's basically no problem with either of the three. Like, you can be doing any of the three and still doing really good. It all kind of depends on your play style. But when you figure out what kind of one you like, you got to make sure that you're playing it intelligently. Like, yeah, if you're super aggressive, that's completely fine, but you should not be fighting someone when there's 3 other people boxed right around you. Like, you shouldn't be W keying someone, or if there's 3 people fighting and you see a potential third party coming in, you should not be getting in and shotgun fighting them, because that third party is absolutely going to kill you. Like, you got to be intelligent when you're being aggressive. If you're playing passive, you got to realize that sometimes you're going to need to get kills, whether it's end game, whether it's early game, or 1 or 2 kills mid game. You have to get kills if you really want to start placing better. You can't just get straight top 15 placement every single game and then expect to finish top 30, top 40, top 50, right? You got to have kind of that sweet marry of playing a little bit more aggressive, which kind of comes into that more aggressive slash passive playstyle, which I personally think is the best playstyle, where basically if you see someone who's low, or you like see someone and you're still in firing range, like try and get a snipe off, try and get some good damage off. If you don't, maybe just leave, or if you see a third party, try and get a third party kill. Personally, this is my kind of favorite playstyle of playing, but like I said, you still can play that super passive playstyle, or you still can play that aggressive playstyle. You just got to figure out how to play it intelligently. Now, my next tip is keep your eyes on remaining players. I see so many people do this and they just kind of forget when like placement is. And if you guys don't know, it's top 25, top 15, top 5, and then first place. I see so many people W keying kids when there's 26, 27 people left, or they're low HP and they just keep rotating, or zone's not even moved yet and they just keep rotating. Like, if there's 26, 27, 28 people left, literally just box up. Unless you're like outside of zone, just box up and just sit in your cone. Like, don't even sit in the box, just sit in your cone. If some brain dead player W keys you, literally you can just sit in the cone. Like, if you want, you can fight them depending on what scenario you are, but sometimes, man, like if there's 26 people left, I'll literally just sit in that cone, let that person take my wall. They'll be confused and then they'll just leave. Like, I don't understand why people W key when there's 3, when you can get 3 points for the top 25, or even 2 extra points for top 15. if you literally just have to wait like an extra like 10-13 seconds, maybe sometimes even 2 seconds, and you'll get that extra points. There's no point Wkeying, yeah, unless you hit someone for like 140 damage, 120 damage, then by all means Wkey. But if you don't hit someone for a lot and you're just straight up Wkeying, or just whatever the case is, probably not the best idea. So keep your eyes on how many people are left. So tip number 3 will kind of roll into tip number 4, but basically it's try your best to remain calm throughout the game. Whether it's end game, early game, you're low HP, you're really good HP, you have a really good match, you have low match, keep calm, try not to get too excited, try not to start panicking, just remain calm. And I know this comes with time, and you won't get it if this is your first or couple cash cups. Like even now I feel a little bit nervous sometimes during cash cups, which I have no idea why. Like I think honestly I just get a little bit nervous in tournaments, but sometimes that actually helps me play better, so I don't mind it. But you got to try your best to remain calm. Remember, if you die, whatever happens, it's not the end of the world. Just remain calm, try not to get too excited, try not to get too like annoyed or nervous. Like if you're at 20 HP, yeah, you keep it in your mind that you need to find HP, but don't just be like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, like I need to find HP, I'm one tap, blah blah blah. Like relax, calm down, take a couple breaths, and go look for heals. Like don't be like absolutely crazy and panicking or panic building or whatever the case is. And now this kind of rolls into my tip number 4 is whatever you do, don't rage quit or don't start playing mad. I see this happen with all of my friends. I do this a couple times. It's one of the worst things you can do. It's basically where if you're playing bad, you just get frustrated and then you start Wkeying or you start hot dropping, you don't stick to your schedule, and you just change your entire playstyle, and then you start to do worse because you change your playstyle, and then you just get even more frustrated, and that ends up rage quitting. Or after 3 or 4 games, you'll have 0 points and you'll just be so mad that you just say, screw this, I'm not playing this game anymore, and you rage quit and get off. Bad idea, don't do that. Basically, the reason it's bad is because you don't want to create bad habits for when it comes to big tournaments like FNCS or World Cup. You don't want to quit even if you're doing bad. You got to learn how to persevere and push through that. If you're playing that bad, don't just change up your entire playstyle. Stick with your playstyle. Maybe if you're low on points, you have to become a little bit more Wkey, but that's just a smart playstyle. Don't just start hot dropping or changing your complete game. Maybe take a break, go outside for a couple minutes, go grab some water, take a piss, whatever the case is. Take like 4 or 5 minutes. You have plenty of time. If you're throwing your games, you have tons of time. Take some minutes off, maybe hop into creative for 5 minutes, relax, cool down, and then get back in. Like even if you do bad again that game, again, just calm down. There's no need to get mad, because basically what you want to be doing is training your mind where even if you're doing bad, you still believe that you can come back from it, play really well, and do well. Like I said, the best example I always use, FaZe Dubs had 3 games left with only like 20 points in the World Cup, and he ended up getting 220 bombs and won like 10 kill, like I think it was like a 5th place or something like that, and he ended up qualifying for the World Cup. No matter how bad you're doing, you can still play unreal. Just don't rage quit and don't get in the habit of rage quitting. So now my 5th tip is basically play as many cash cups as you can and as many games as you can. And this kind of goes back to the rage quitting. You want to get as much experience as possible for basically getting in that mindset of not quitting, remaining calm, and during tournaments remaining calm. Some pros still get nervous in tournaments, especially like for example when you see younger pros go into a LAN event, they get extremely nervous because it's their first LAN event, right? And they may not play as good. Some people are just used to the nervousness and they play better with it. But for the average person, when you play nervous, you're not playing to your best. So basically, online tournaments are the best way to get invited to LANs and start performing well. So you need to not be nervous during online tournaments. And the best way to do that is play as many as possible and play out as many games as possible. So basically, you know in your mind, well, I've done this before, I can play this, I'm going to do well, whatever the case is, right? So just play as many cash cups as possible. So my last tip, and this is a pretty big one in my opinion, is basically use the cash cups as a learning experience. There's a very low chance that you're going to make money with it because it's such a small top 20 range, but even if you do, that's great. Use it to upgrade your setup, use it to invest, whatever the case is, buy some clothes, whatever you want to do with it. But for most cases, you're probably not going to be placing the money, so use it as experience. Like I said, make sure you try and not rage quit. VOD review your games, figure out what you could do better. Make sure you try your best to remain calm. Figure out how people's play styles are. Figure out what you're doing wrong or what you can do better, like I said, by VOD reviewing or whatever the case is. Just try your best to use these as a learning experience. If you don't place well, it's not a big deal. The only reason to place good in these tournaments besides top 20 and to win money is basically just to say that you place top 100 or you place top 50, or when you're looking for a teammate you can use those as kind of references. Sure, that's important, but in the long run it's not that important. Like, just play it to get experience. Don't all like kind of play it just to get placement. Like, it's not a big deal if you don't place in the top 100 or top 300 unless you're like a top 50 player and you don't place in the money. Then yeah, that's a little frustrating. But if you're just an average player, just try your best to place high. If you don't, it's not a big deal. There's always next week. But that's basically it for today's video. If you enjoyed that, make sure you slap a like button on this video, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, use creator code WraithFN in the item shop, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.